Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate y'all being here. My goodness gracious, it's Friday already. By God, it's Friday. I tell you what, I kind of noticed that. That's a little, there we go. Brighten that up a little bit there. All right, everybody. Hello, welcome to the presentation. Happy Friday to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Hopefully, you're having a fantastic Friday, wherever you are. But before we have any type of conversation, Mr. Producer, roll that footage, please.
Fans of Bishop James Long, the renowned exorcist and paranormal expert on KGRA digital broadcasting. Now you can carry his wisdom with you. Our Bishop James Long collection features blessed apparel such as St. Benedict hats and tees, as well as home items to protect and inspire. Elevate your spiritual journey. Go to kgradb.com/shop and discover the Bishop James Long merch today.
So make sure you do that, everybody. Please do that. They have some great items there. And again, why not? Why not do it? Because you're helping a wonderful orphan. It's an orphanage in Uganda that we're partnering with. And so I think that's great. Anytime we can partner up, let's do it. Now, if you want to go to my website because you're bored and have nothing else better to do, you can certainly do so. You can go to Bishop James Long and you can follow that up with a .com. We don't do inquisitions here. Bishop James Long and follow that up with a .com. And by the way, I do have there's 2 books out. 2 books, don't forget. So if you scroll down and you'll see the book called, it is the Paranormal Investigator Training Manual. That is now available for you to purchase. So you go to my website, scroll down, please purchase that book. 100%, I'm donating 100, I know I'm crazy, 100% of the profit I'm donating to the MKS Kids Foundation, 100%. And I just finished a new book. It is the 7 Archangels Explained. It is done. It is now uploaded. It's published. And again, you can go to my site, Bishop James Long, follow that up with a .com. Scroll down and you'll see the book. The 7 Archangels Explained. 100% of that profits is going to the MKS Kids Foundation. Every penny is going to them. So if you want to know about the archangels, there it is. If you want to learn, if you have a training manual, a paranormal investigating training manual, it's 260 pages long. Pick it up, and you're helping again. You're helping the MKS Kids Foundation. Are atheists welcome here? No, actually, everyone is welcome here. And truthfully, and this is the sad part, the people who normally get blocked are usually people who consider themselves Christians who judge and condemn. Those are usually 99% of the people that we block. The atheist friends that I have here that come on this platform, they don't come in here and judge and condemn, not at all. Because they respect my right, and I respect their right to not to believe. They respect my right to believe. And so they're very kind and courteous. The people that we tend to block 99% of the time are people who claim to be Christian. So let that sink in for everybody. Yep, 100%, Chloe. Yep, the books you can purchase them, and they will be purchased international as well. Now, if you want to go to the church's site, you can do so. It's USOCC. You follow that up with a .org. USOCC. Follow that up with yeah, we do. Demonology. Matter of fact, Lady Bird, I have a book it's in editing right now. It is demonology. It's a book on demonology. Judy Ann is a professional editor. That's what she does for a living. And she is now currently editing the book. And so the book of demonology has been completed. And also I have a book on Revelation. So we're putting out a lot. I'm finally able to, make sure I get some time to write because I love writing. And so therefore that information is out there. And so the demonology book and Revelation book will be out whenever Judy Ann is able to do it. There's no rush. And so anyway, the 2 books are out now. Right now, it is the Paranormal Investigators Training Manual. I have a copy here. And it is, I'll show you. There it is. Paranormal Investigators Training Manual. And of course, the brand new book that I just published is the It's not on Audible. I don't know how to do that. I wish I did. I have no clue how to do that. People keep asking me about it. I just don't know. I'm not. It is. Yeah, it's very lighted candles. It's very detailed. The Book of Revelation. But you can purchase the 7 Archangels book right now. Right now, you can purchase them. And again, please know that 100% of the profits is going to the MKS Kids Foundation. So, yeah, Jackie, that's where it goes. Well, technically, here's the deal. It is my work. So if any other author, if they write a book, they get proceeds from the book and it goes to them because it's their work. Just like if you went to work and you clocked in, you should be expected to get a paycheck. So if an author, if any other author writes a book, they should be expected to get paid for their work. So technically, I should have every right to say every penny from the book is mine because it's my work. I am choosing to donate 100% of that to the MKS Kids Foundation. 100%. And by the way, I don't receive a stipend or salary as being a bishop in the church. So believe me, every penny would certainly help me too. But I am donating that. And as a community, we have gotten behind the MKS Kids Foundation. So there we go. All right. That's what we're doing. And hopefully you'll check it out. Oh, thank you there, Chrissy. Hopefully you'll check it out. That's what it's for. I want to leave by, thank you, some education, knowledge. That's important. It's always been important to me to be able to share your knowledge with others. That's vital. Absolutely vital. And I think that's why I love it so much. Yep, you can. Yeah. Well, not on right now on Amazon. Currently, I'm trying to get it on global distribution now. So it's being evaluated. Thank you there, C. David. It's being evaluated by Amazon. And so you have to make sure everything is done right. All the copyright is information, all the ISBN. There's so much behind the scenes when you distribute your books. So I did all that. So it's all copyright and all that other stuff. The ISBN numbers have to match. So right now they're evaluating so that we can have global distribution. Oh, Bubba Joe, you can't be a normal human being. That's why you got muted. Okay. And I'm going to leave the chat on for everybody. How do you get fit? Well, I've taken a vow of poverty. So I'm a Benedictine monk. So remember, I also have a master's of education. So I teach. So, I'm very passionate about what I do. And when you live a minimalist lifestyle, there is a freedom that comes with that. There really is. And I used to be a dean of a college, made 6 figures a year. But I was also very miserable. I mean, the stress level as a dean was enormous. So although I was making having a nice living, it also was taking a toll because I was you're constantly worried about, losing your job, or if you don't have performance, or if you have retention, if the students drop out, or if they quit, or whatever it might be, that could affect you. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. It was horrible. So I thought, nope, that's it. That is it. So I then became a special education teacher, and I taught, I was certified to teach children with behavior and learning disabilities. And so I also implemented those skills into a post-secondary education setting to where many of the students were non-traditional, that they had learning disabilities themselves. So I was able to implement different teaching methodologies, because not everyone, in other words, not everyone learns through lecture style. And that's okay. So you have to implement teaching methodologies so that other people can. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Starla. Thank you much for the gifts. I've never seen that one before. Thank you. So, okay, there we go. And I appreciate you all being here. So yeah, make sure you pick up those 2 books. Pick up those 2 books. And just go to my website, Bishop James Long, follow that up with the .com, scroll down. And by the way, I have music there. I have, no, I don't. DC. I have music. I own them. I own the songs, and you can download them. So you can use them. I do ask, of course, that if you use them, always give credit because they are copyright. But you can go and check it out. Again, go to my website. It's all there. All right. And don't forget, tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have night prayer as well. So we're busy. We have a lot going on here. And hopefully, that's okay. All right. I believe in God, even though what? You think it's okay I believe in God, even though I deny the Bible completely? Well, denying the Bible completely and understanding certain passages, to whom was it written, why was it written, and what was it written for? So I certainly believe in God, but we cannot take scripture out of context, because when you do that, then people start cherry picking like they do many times on TikTok. They use Leviticus, for example, to judge LGBT community. It's part of the Holiness Code. The Holiness Code has 613 laws, and I find it really appalling that people will cherry pick. And so they will like to judge other people, the LGBT community, and say, oh, yeah, you're going to burn in the fiery pits of hell because the Holiness Code. But yet they don't follow the Holiness Code themselves. They're hypocrites. And Jesus didn't. That's one thing Jesus did not like. Jesus did not like hypocrites at all. The Pharisees were hypocrites. He called them a brood of vipers. So people who like to cherry pick the old, like, for example, they love to pick the Leviticus. Or even Deuteronomy, and try to judge a group of people because they just don't, and they use the Bible as a hate tool. But yet it also says in Leviticus 25, verse 44, that I can possess slaves, both male and female, provided that I, purchase from neighboring nations. So, a friend of mine claims that that this applies to people Hispanic, but not Canadian. So can you clarify that? Also, I would like to sell my daughter into slavery as sanctioned in Exodus chapter 21, verse 7. In this day and age, what do you think would be a fair price? Oh, and by the way, I know that I'm allowed no contact with a woman while she's in her period of menstrual uncleanliness in Leviticus 15, verses 19 through 24. The problem is, how do I tell? Oh, and by the way, when I burn a bull on the altar as a sacrifice, I know it creates a pleasing odor for the Lord in Leviticus chapter 1, verse 9. The problem is my neighbors. They claim that the odor is not pleasing to them. Should I smite them? Oh, by the way, I have a neighbor who insists on working on the Sabbath. Well, Exodus chapter 35, verse 2 clearly states that he should be unalived. So am I morally obligated to unalive him myself, or should I ask the police to do it? The point of the matter is if you're going to take scripture and you're going to cherry pick it, then you better follow all 613 laws. Because if you don't, Matthew chapter 7, verse 2 says you're going to be judged in the same manner you judge other people. So if you judge other people using the Holiness Code, you better damn well follow all 613 laws. And I guarantee you're not. So perhaps maybe instead of judging, why don't you start learning a little bit of kindness? And I find it fascinating that there are so many people that are obsessed with what other people are doing in their bedroom. That seems a little weird to me. That seems creepy. I don't know. If you're not creeped out by that, I'm very creeped out. This obsession with what two people, consenting adults, are doing, and I don't want to know, and I really don't care. Why are all these people who are cherry picking the Bible always worried about what they're doing in the bedroom? Voyeurism? Creep? That doesn't. Anyway, before I was rudely interrupted. Tonight, my friends, it is Paranormal Friday night. Paranormal Friday night. So there we go. There's a one night a week where we have a conversation about the paranormal. And people usually don't like the fact that is you're not having a conversation with a 10-year-old kid who has an education theology from a crackerjack box. So if you want to take scripture and you want to cherry pick it, you better darn well believe you better follow all 613 laws of the Holiness Code. Otherwise, if you're not, Jesus would call you a brood of vipers, as he did the Pharisees. That's what the Pharisees did. The Pharisees judged the Israelites because they didn't follow, law number 610. And yet the Pharisees were a bunch of hypocrites because they were acting like they were so pious and holy. Thank you very much. And in fact, Jesus looked at them and said, you're a brood of vipers. Okay. Now, tonight, we're going to talk about a place that has been fascinating. It is fascinating. I don't know if you know about this, but it is the Winchester House. And this place is cray. And I tell you, it is crazy. And by the way, thank you very much. Those of you who are on TikTok, thank you very much for the gifts. And thank you for sharing, everybody. Thank you for liking. And keep in mind, trolls, rude comments, everybody won't be thinking, oh, that's really clever. No, actually, you'll be blocked because the Jerry Springer mentality here doesn't work. So if you're trying to be a Jerry Springer crowd, you might want to go someplace else because the only attention that you're going to get are from moderators who don't tolerate adults who act like pestilent children. But tonight, we're going to have a conversation about the Winchester House. So we're stepping into a house that feels more like a living thing than a building. Every hallway seems to breathe. Every floorboard carries a memory. And once you're inside, many people say the air begins to thicken around you, like the house is sizing you up. So people call it the Winchester Mystery House. The mystery really, I think feels polite. And before we go any further, though, turn your lights down, settle in, and let the silence fold around you, because to understand what really happens in this house, many people say, you have to meet it in the dark. On a hill in San Jose, in California, for those trolls, a house grows at night. The stairways climb into ceilings and doors open into sheer air. Windows look in where a wall should be. For nearly 40 years, a single woman kept the builders at work day and night until the mansion became a labyrinth of rooms and rumors. And they called it a house built for spirits. And they called it madness. They called it the Winchester Mystery House. This is endlessly rooms. So we're going to peel back decades of wood, wallpaper, sift through ledger books, even seances. And we're not having a seance, they did. And walk in the dark with those who say that they left that place forever changed. Thank you. Some call it haunted. Others call it a monument of Victorian eccentricity. And some say the truth is tangled, a corridor between grief and something else, something that breathed along with the rafters. Thank you. So just if you go there, don't follow any staircase that ends at the ceiling. This place is one of the most bizarre locations that I've ever studied in the paranormal. And for those of you who are in the paranormal, you know what I'm referring to. And basically, for those of you who are new here, this is how we do this. I do a presentation. Thank you very much. I do a presentation for about an hour. And then afterwards, I talk about some articles that I find that are paranormal related, and I answer your questions. But I don't entertain questions while I'm doing a lecture, because I have a 45-page lecture that I put together specifically for tonight. And you're here. And because you are here, I value your time. So I don't just look at the camera and say, now let's entertain each other, or you entertain me, or whatever. I'm here to entertain you. So Sarah Lockwood Pardee was born in 1837 in New Haven, Connecticut. She married William Wirt Winchester in 1862. And by the time the Civil War was over, her life was tethered to the fortunes of an industrial age. See, William was part of a company that changed warfare and hunting, the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. Thank you. And when he passed away in 1881 of what contemporaries recorded as tuberculosis, Sarah inherited wealth that made her one of the wealthiest women in the entire United States. But wealth did not stop grief. History remembers a woman who walked through rooms that used to hold her child's toys, who learned early how easily a life can shift from warmth to a ledger and a mansion. And she would later be painted as eccentric, single-minded, consumed by guilt, and frantic to stave off unseen visitors, ghosts. And it is true that Sarah inherited not just money, but stock, and that she received a very large income. It's also true that she retreated from East Coast society, first to New Haven, and then after a lengthy period of travel and search for solace, to California. And she arrived in San Jose in the mid-1880s. Now, contemporary records show that Sarah was reclusive. She dressed simply, moved through the world with a determined reserve, and she purchased a modest farmhouse atop a hill in the Winchester family's land holdings, and then began a campaign, thank you, of additions and renovations that would never end until her death in 1922. It is critical, I believe, to set truth against myth, because there's a lot of misinformation about this particular topic. Many of the stories that circle the house, the nonstop construction, the midnight orders, they were embellished by early 20th century reporters and by tour operators to sell tickets. But legends are stubborn, and they cling to the building like ivy. Now, Sarah Winchester, she was a real person. She suffered a great deal of loss. So her husband and child both passed away within just a few years of each other. And she had the means to act on whatever would soothe her grief. And the narrative that she built to escape spirits grew rapidly after her passing, but it's rooted in her patronage on spiritualists and her distinctive ongoing renovation pattern. She was known to have consulted spiritualists at that time. They had a lot of seances. Remember, in this time, 1890s or so, early 1905, 1910, seances were fashionable among the grieving and the curious. And the story that a Boston medium told her to build and never stop building, that's really the skeleton around which the rest of the myth grows. Whether those words were spoken exactly or whether they were paraphrased into legend really matters less than the fact that Sarah immersed herself in an enterprise that blurred architecture, therapy, and even obsession. So in the end, she passed away at age 83 at a house that was more of a maze than a home. Her passing in 1922 closed the chapter, but the building kept speaking. And in the years since, investigators, tourists, heart-rending testimonials have offered different translations of the house's voice. So Sarah Winchester wasn't just an ordinary widow. Again, she lost her infant daughter and then her husband. And with those losses, she really lost any sense of stability. And by all accounts, Sarah, she was intelligent, refined, very private, but grief tore something open in her. And her friends described her as someone who wandered her home late at night. She would hold small objects that belonged to her daughter, speaking softly to rooms that had no one in them. And when she met with the spiritual medium, she wasn't looking for comfort. She wanted a reason, any reason. And the answer she believed she received was terrifying. She was told that the deceased, the ghost, unalived by the Winchester weapon, wanted her. So all the people that were unalived by the Winchester weapon was seeking revenge against her. They wanted her family line erased. They were already watching her. So the medium told her that every single person who passed away due to a Winchester weapon, they were haunting her out of revenge. And the medium told her also that there was only one way to keep these ghosts confused, keep them lost, keep them wandering in loops instead of heading straight for her. And the medium told her to build, never stop building. As long as hammers echoed, the spirits would stay disoriented, the medium said. This is why I wish, with all due respect, if you're not trained in theology, please stop spreading misinformation like this. Because this poor woman built and built and built and built and purposely built her entire home into a maze. So Sarah, what she did, she fled East Coast society and she bought a lonely little farmhouse in California. And she began a project she never intended to finish. Her neighbors would hear sawing at 2 a.m, hammering at dawn, and the glow of lanterns drifting from one half completed room to another. And Sarah rarely slept. Some nights she walked the halls with a small bell in her hand, and guides say that she rang it at midnight to summon spirits and at 2 a.m. to dismiss them. Whether that's true or not, The house kept growing and growing and growing. But this is what this medium told her: to keep building. Don't stop building. And then if you do that, you're going to confuse the spirits. This is part of the reasons why I get frustrated sometimes as an exorcist, as clergy, when people start telling people about demonology, and yet they have no training in demonology whatsoever. They have no training in theology. And they tell people some just insane, incorrect information, and then get people into some serious trouble. Unlike, like, for example, Sarah, she turned to this medium, and this medium, well, quite honestly, she ripped her off. But what does it mean to build without end? To keep adding rooms to a house until a map cannot hold the story? Well, the Winchester house began as a simple 8-room farmhouse. Sarah bought it in 1886. And from that modest start, she commissioned carpenters, masons, woodworkers. She hired a foreman, William Talbot, among others at different times, and men who would raise flights of stairs, lay patterned floors, and in some cases, cut away entire sections to reroute corridors. She would make stairways that would just lead up to a floor. You couldn't go to the next floor. It would just end. And the result of is a mansion of contradictions. Opulent turn-of-the-century stained glass. They were delicately carved. Beautiful. I mean, the architecture. Staircase that just rise to the ceiling. Doors that open into thin air. Windows installed in floors looking down on rooms below. A bewildering parade of dead ends. And there are rooms with 2 doors, but no passage between them. A chimney extends through 11 floors, but serves 11 fireplaces in strange positions, and a dining room where 7 people could sit, yet 1 chair would face a blank wall. See, when you approach the Winchester Mystery House, you don't feel like you're walking toward a home. You feel like you're walking into a story that someone forgot to end. The gardens are beautiful. The house looms over them in a way that feels unnatural. No matter where you stand, the windows seem to tilt toward you, and the towers lean just slightly, like they're bending. And visitors talk about a pressure in the chest the moment they cross the threshold. Not panic, not fear, just a presence, something that settles against your ribs. Thank you. Thank you very much. And the wallpaper inside is very bright. It's patterned. It's delicate. But even that feels off. It's too perfect, too framed, like someone wanted to distract you from something moving behind it. Many people say you can smell the old wood, varnish, dust. The air holds a faint scent of sulfur from the ancient gas fixtures. The light feels dimmer than it should, even on clear afternoons. Thank you very much, RCD. Lila, one of the former tour hosts, actually sent me a story that is very interesting. And she said the front hall always felt crowded. Even if it was just me and 2 tourists, I'd be talking about Sarah and I'd feel this weight behind my shoulder, like someone tall was listening in. And one time I turned around so fast, I nearly dropped my flashlight. Nothing there. But the air where I expected a person to be was a little colder. And the rest of the room, not freezing, just wrong. It's interesting, isn't it? If the doorway is a warning, then most people don't notice until they're already deep inside. Yeah, Harry, that's wonderful, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. So if you walk through the corridors, imagine the air is cool, musty with old varnish. The wallpapers feel or they peel in long curls like the skin of a snake. The floorboards are narrow planks. They kind of sigh under your shoes, people say, like they creep. A chandelier that once burned, it hangs askew. It cuts glass, trembling with every foot. I mean, just weird. Every window wants your eyes, people say. And one of the most famous features in is the staircase, mini stair that leads to nowhere. which when seen makes people feel unnerved. It's as if a threshold refuses to let you pass, people say. So there's also, by the way, the door that opens onto a narrow 2-foot walkway with a drop on both sides. Essentially, it's a step into the air. And there's also a false bedroom with a closet that seems to exist to confuse. And remember, she did all this because a medium told her, the more you build and make it like a maze, the more you will confuse the ghost that's trying to haunt you. Now, look, many people say, well, so why build it? Just because the medium says so? Well, there are practical, economic, psychological theories. Some people say, historians point to a Victorian taste for eccentricity. I don't think. Others suggest Sarah was indulging whims, experimenting with design, repairing, adding rooms for whatever. I think the most bizarre, some people say, is that a medium, in fact, told her to do this. And everything that I've seen and everything I've read on, but I believe that is the case. But amid the oddities, there were technical truths. The mansion is a labyrinth of handmade millwork, each stair and newel posts stamped with era's craftsmanship. There's intricate, beautiful fireplaces, each with tiled hearts and mantles. It shows that opulence was present alongside the absurd. This is a real house. I actually drove by it once. I got to see it once. The house plumbing and electrical work retrofitted over the years. It contains its own ghost stories. Many people say a gas lamp that would flare into empty rooms, a light that fluoresced shine right above a staircase, a telephone that would ring at dawn with no one on the line. And people say you feel the house. And that's what many visitors say, as if the building has weight and warmth and the capability to press itself right into your chest. But you have to remember, in the late 19th century, spiritualism, it was both a consolation, a cultural phenomenon. So many people at this time, they had seances, they consulted with mediums, table turning. It was common ways that bereaved sought contact with the dead. And Sarah Winchester's immersion in spiritualist practice is documented. So she would have many seances there to try to contact her husband and to contact her child who passed away. The medium, you got to keep building. So you must never stop. The medium said, for every year you build, you offer rest to the restless. So Sarah's construction mania wasn't about expansion. It was about misdirection. Yeah. So again, for those of you just tuning in, I'm Bishop Long. We're talking about the Winchester House, this phenomenal, amazing location. Sarah Winchester, she lost her husband to tuberculosis, and she lost her daughter, infant daughter, and they passed away very close together. And she was in extreme distress because of it. And she went to a medium, and the medium told her just to build and make a home, make it a maze to confuse the ghost. Because as I mentioned earlier, she inherited the Winchester, massive wealth. The Winchester, of course, they built weapons. And the medium told her that the ghosts were haunting her, and the ghost took her husband and took her child because they had passed away from a Winchester weapon, and the ghosts were seeking revenge. So the medium told her the only way to keep these ghosts that were unalived by a Winchester weapon that were haunting her and her family was to build a house that would confuse the ghost. So Carpenter said that she wandered the halls late at night. She would just study the walls, the corners, the lines of each room like she was listening to them. Some mornings, she'd hand her workers a sketch of a new room scribbled on a scrap of paper, and by noon, she'd order the entire thing ripped out. And by dinner, she wanted it rebuilt another way. So the house was not a home at all. Did you take holy waters? I sure did. Holy orders, I sure did. I also studied for the Roman Catholic priesthood. I studied for 6 years, received my minor orders, and I know more about the catechism than you can probably spell your own name. Now, it was a maze designed for the dead. And one worker named Peter left behind notes about his experience working there. They were found decades later in a family trunk. So Peter's testimony said this: Mrs. Winchester watched us from doorways. She wasn't unkind, but she was uneasy. Her eyes moved like she was tracking something I couldn't see. And when I asked her why she wanted a stairway torn out after we'd spent weeks on it, she said the house told her the spirits were learning the pattern. And she said the angels had to change, the angles rather. If the spirits walked in straight lines, they would find her. This is terrible. Oh, well, I appreciate that. Yes, I have apostolic succession. I'm a member of order or corporate union that validates people's apostolic succession. Imagine living like that, though. I mean, imagine believing that the house was the only thing keeping you alive. Workers reported tools going missing and showing up in rooms that they hadn't worked in. Boards would be cut to the wrong measurement, even when the carpenter swore they measured twice. Ladders shifted in the night. Freshly hammered nails bent themselves sideways. And the workers blamed accidents, but some of them quit in the middle of the night without collecting any pay because they swore that house was haunted. So I think that sentence is repeated in every story, in every telling. It is the hook on which the mansion's mythology hangs. But historical evidence of an exact phrase or an official singular prohibition from a medium, it's elusive. So we find in the archives are payments to spiritualists, correspondence that notes Sarah's visits, and accounts from neighbors and workers who observed her consulting with persons who claimed to hear voices beyond the veil. There was a historian that wrote this: spiritualists would tell grieving clients many things, that their lost loved ones were restless, or that particular actions could soothe these presences. For someone with Sarah Winchester's traumatic losses, these sessions could have felt like therapy, a guide that told her how to find control again. And whether that guidance took the literal form of endless construction or whether she applied the advice in a more idiosyncratic way is a matter of interpretation. But I absolutely believe 100% that the mediums that she went to were fraud. And I believe 100% that they just convinced her to stay busy, out of sight, out of mind kind of a thing, to stay busy, keep building, so she would build rooms and tear the room down and rebuild it all over again. It's insane. What they did was wrong. And there are also darker, more theatrical recountings, so that a Boston medium told Sarah that she had to move west to escape the spirits, and that, in fact, building continuously, she could find peace. And that Sarah accepted the curse of owning the Winchester, weaponry, and the idea that those unalive demanded compensation. She believed this. And over the decades, people have come to the Winchester house expecting, peculiar architecture, but many leave with stories that go beyond doors and stairs, stories of cold hands, whispered names, and a presence that seems to track them down the corridors. I'm going to present a couple of testimonies. Some come from the official interviews, museum staff logs, third-party investigators, and other are composites of repeated accounts given by visitors. So there's a witness that wrote this. It was during the evening tour. We were in the ballroom, and everyone was whispering because the guide had turned the lamps down. Then I swear the temperature dropped like a stone. My breath was misting. I felt something at my back, like a hand, but when I turned, there was no one. I could hear the thick of the tick of the grandfather clock, but it wasn't in the room. My friend grabbed my arm and said she felt it too. A pressure very heavy, as if someone was leaning on us. They left early. Now, what's interesting is cold spots are among the most commonly reported phenomena in the house. Investigators have measured temperature differentials in older houses where drafts and HVAC, irregularities create pockets of cold. But in personal terms, a sudden localized chill in a room otherwise at one temperature can be profound, uncanny. And the witness's feeling of pressure that someone is leaning, that's a common motive and one that appears in many haunted homes. A former employee said this about this on a website. He said, I worked nights for years patrolling the place. One night, I was checking the third floor's servants' corridor. The flashlight beamed, hit a patch of wallpaper. The pattern moved, not in the way a draft moves fabric. It rippled, and my light flickered. I stepped forward and saw footprints in the dust where there was none earlier. There were bare footprints. The chill ran through me, and I quit the job the next week. See, the footprint story, sometimes barefoot, sometimes small, sometimes adult, they actually crop up often by people who report this. And dust and foot traffic can leave prints. The timing and suddenness and witnesses describe are what make them tellable, as hauntings. Another story, there was a witness, and this is a museum, recounts a 1950s visitor. So in the 1950s, a woman visiting on her honeymoon insisted that she heard a rocking chair move in an empty parlor. She says, we checked, and there was no chair moving, but two small depressions in the rug suggested something had been shifted. She became pale, ran from the room, sobbing. She said the chair belonged to the baby she lost. She never came back. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it is very ghost, no question. See, loss and grief are the bedrock of many Winchester stories. And for some visitors, the house provides a mirror, for their pain, a place where sorrow feels recognized. And that recognition can lead to powerful experiences that are hard to parse. And they are subjective. Are they born of expectation? Or is the house doing something that exceeds our usual vocabulary? What many people say is that if you're dealing with a particular struggle, an emotional issue, when you go into that home, you will have that. You will experience that. Now, there was a paranormal investigator that wrote, they documented EVPs. EVPs is electronic voice phenomena that you use a digital recorder. It says in a few rooms, short fragments like constants or a breath that registered as a voice. Skeptics will say the recordings are pareidolia, the brain finding patterns where there are none. But for many visitors, the experience of hearing a voice, seeing a shadow, or feeling a presence is undeniable. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ari. And whether you call it paranormal or psychological, it is real for the person who felt it. Another tourist said, I stumbled into a dark corridor and felt my shoe sink into something soft like a rug. But then I realized it was cold and wet. And when I looked down, I thought I saw a smear like a handprint. I was terrified. And when I told the guide, he said sometimes the humidity makes patterns like that. But it felt like a hand. I kept thinking about it all night. I mean, look, touch is a very powerful claim. Feeling a brush, a grip, or intangible weight on the shoulder, that's different from seeing a shadow. See, our nervous systems, they're wired to respond to touch. And accounts like these, I think it confronts us with intimate bodily dimensions of haunted claims. There was a couple that was on a private tour, and they sent this to my email. They said, we are alone, and the guide opened a door into what they call the sewing room. Thank you. They said, we turned the light on, and there was a dress form covered in a cloth. it began to tremble. Well, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Not much, a faint shiver, like when someone inhales quickly. We both heard something behind us, like someone was whispering. And the guide said she had never seen the mannequin move before. They said, I don't know if I'll ever return. So in this mannequin, they had this dress and it was moving and there was no air vents at all. Now, objects moving, chairs, fabrics, ornaments is one of the most evocative forms of reported activity. They violate the very expectation that the dead matter stays still. Thank you. That the furniture of memory is really, it's inert. In Victorian terms, this is especially charged. You know, in that particular era, doll-like forms and the presence of mannequins making any motion seems uncanny. So, of course, not all experiences are terrifying, though. Many visitors report a heaviness. Some feel grief. Some a strange sense of being watched. A few report kindness, like a sense of protection. Human emotion is obviously complicated when projected onto a structure that seems to hold so much history. And I think when you listen to repeated accounts over years, the same corridor explained again and again, you begin to see patterns. I do. Cold spots, footsteps, fleeting shadows, disembodied voices. Well, there are explanations rooted in architecture. You know, we can easily argue there are explanations. You know, it's for architecture, drafts, settling timbers, acoustic reflections. These things are common. And there are aspects that no simple cause can fully explain. At the Winchester house, the scale of the building amplifies both natural oddities and the people's tendency to certainly find meaning in them. So next we're going to move from the fragments to the night tour. This is quite scary on the night tour. So the porch is shingled. The paint has the gloss of a house only superficially cleaned. And you step up there and you're next. The heavy front door resists with a prolonged moan before swinging open to reveal a very dim hall. And immediately, many people say you sense a temperature drop as soon as you walk in the door. A thickness in the air, like the inhale before someone speaks. And there are no other tour groups that night, and the guide gestures for silence. You move into the first parlor. The wallpaper is a deep, saturated pattern of ivy and shallow tells. Candlelight flickers. Perhaps it's only the lantern's fashion, you know, casting dancing shapes on the wall, you tell yourself. And then you hear a distant machine, like the house's plumbing, perhaps a train miles away. And what you do next is you'll go up to, you ascend the narrow staircase. And each step complains in a different register, moans in the wood settling under the years. The banister is carved with a twist. It's a repeated motive that catches skin as you pass. And at the top of the stairs is a small, windowless room. Many people describe this room as the air is still, and yet there's a pressure and awareness. On the left is a door with a brass knob, ornate, it's cold. And when you push it open, inside is a room. It smells faintly of old fabric. An old sewing machine sits in the corner. It's wheel coated in cobwebs. A shadow gathers in the, well, thank you very much. A shadow gathers in the far corner. It seems to move away when you look directly at it. Many people then say at this time, they hear whispers. Something is with it. Not words, just like a breath. And many times people start looking a little pale. And inside the room across the hall, the wallpaper is a different pattern entirely. A child's playroom. Little wooden toys sit in a line. And you can put your palms against the window sill and feel the chill of the glass. And a shadow passes behind the curtains if someone crossed the hall. So here then is a soft scratch on the floor to the right. Might be a mouse. Many people say it might be the floorboards. So the floorboards start to creak. You hear it. Many people say they hear this. And then you move along to a very long corridor lined with portraits, faces that seem to watch. Everybody who walks past this corridor says they are feeling watched. And as you walk, many people say the temperature here drops. Thank you. And your breath begins to fog up. The guide stops abruptly. It points to the wall. It's a small handprint, barely visible, dark on the wallpaper. And many people say that this handprint always just shows up. It goes away and it will show up. One witness who saw this says, I felt my hair lifted, like I'd walk into a static field. And then I felt, not a touch exactly, they said, but a presence at my shoulder. I turned and nothing was there. But I swear, someone exhaled right beside my ear. Many people say that they feel that a warm, like breath, someone right at their ear. This is the Winchester house. So for those of you joining us, we're talking about the Winchester house in California. And that's what we're talking about. Phenomenal present. I'm telling you what, this place is absolutely amazing. So next you enter a ballroom. The ceiling they're high, they're ornate with gilding, false balconies. And once this room would have held music and dancing, but then it all now holds memories. There's a faint echo like a piano chord hovers, and you stand in the center, and the sound resolves into like a single note. So many people say they hear this piano note, high and long, almost like a violin string. And it vibrates through the floor into people's bones. They said you can hear it. An intense emotional charge rises in the room. For some, they say it feels sorrowful, as if the house itself is remembering those who once moved within it. For others, it's malignant. It's a pressure. It can be felt into the temples. So you slowly then move to the staircase that ends at a ceiling. The banister stops abruptly. Looking up, you cannot see where the stair was meant to go. The guide says the workers left it this way. So you just walk up this staircase and it ends right there. Thank you very much. Right at a floor. And as you stand, many people now hear, especially at this staircase, a low murmur begins at the edge. Not a human words, but like chatter. Some people hear a ripple of laughter, small, almost like hysterical, as if behind the wall itself, when there is nothing behind the wall. Some people say the laughter echoes once and then the house falls silent. And next what you do is you'll exit through a back door that leads to a narrow staircase. And the air on the stairwell has a smell of old roses and rain. Many people talk about that. A sense of being followed always on this staircase. And when you look, there's nothing, but only the shape of wood and shadow. And at the base of the stairs, the night outside, the house is deep. And the memory of the house lingers like you can feel it. Now, for centuries, the Winchester house has been a magnet for sensation. Journalists hungry for a headline, tourists seeking chills, investigators looking for proof. Paranormal groups have studied the building with thermal cameras, EMF, electromagnetic field meters, audio recorders. Some claim small victories like EVPs, unexplained temperature drops, optical anomalies on film. But a lot of skeptics will point to the architecture, human suggestion, that it's just your imagination. There was one skeptic that said, any old house will give you sounds, settling timbers, pipes, rodents in the walls, out of stories that primes people to expect ghosts, and the mind is going to fill in the gaps. The evidence for ghosts doesn't hold up under righteous testing. Most claims are anecdotal, and when we try to reproduce phenomena under controlled conditions, they fall away. That is true. However, there have been EVPs that have been captured that you cannot dismiss. And of course, then look, there is the economic incentives. So the 1920s, it saw a rise in the house as a tourist attraction. The estate that managed the property turned the building into a business. And sensational stories sold tickets. And that fact, though, does not in itself negate the experience that people report, but it does complicate, I think, how we interpret the house's, paranormal activity. A place can be both a commercial attraction and a site of genuine, uncanny experience. For example, Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, because I live in Louisville and I've been to Waverly Hills many times, it is absolutely a commercial attraction, no doubt about it. But it's also there are places where in Waverly it's a genuine, uncanny experience. There are some parts in Waverly that makes you think, okay, this is interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you. So really, the Winchester House is a product of an era and a person. It's a narrative of grief that's turned into architecture. The Spirit House story was a perfect marketing tool. Tour operators have leaned into it, but even if the mythology, was bolstered for ticket sales, fine. That doesn't extinguish the human testimonies. People have walked out of that building completely changed, even skeptics. So I think we have to account for that as well. Sometimes I believe the most haunting things are not objects that move, but the way the house makes you feel. The sense that history is not inert, but it is alive, in the very floorboards. Now, certain rooms seem to attract repeat reports. The sewing room is one of them. The sewing room, the ballroom, a second floor nursery, their stairways are frequently mentioned. And over the years, a few incidents entered the Winchester's folklore and then spilled out into national headlines. Touring guests actually fainted. There were guides reported disembodied voices, and there were cameras that captured shapes that analysts could not easily explain. As a matter of fact, in 1964, a museum staff, a witness said that they reported an on-site camera captured a blur in a doorway that they said we could not later account for. The film was grainy. They said we enhanced it and saw a shape that moved too quickly to be human, or at least to match the shape of a cadence of a human gait. Skeptics argued light. Believers argued spirit. The footage lives in the archives now, beyond layers of protective film. Another often retold story involves a guide in the 1940s who reported hearing Sarah Winchester's name called softly from a second floor room. And when he climbed, all the lights were out. The room was empty. He never worked a night tour again. So famous or not, I think the stories form a pattern. It's an impression of a presence that moves throughout the mansion, touching, whispering, leaving markers. Thank you. And for some people, the markers are visual. Some people see handprints, moving objects. For others, they're emotional, like a sudden sorrow, an overwhelming sense of being watched. So in this presentation, we certainly began with a myth. A woman urged to build forever, to ward off the dead. We've walked the halls, and a fact or tales. We've told you about people who felt fingers on their backs, heard words in dark rooms, skeptics. But the Winchester house resists being pinned down. Perhaps the most honest thing to say is this: the house fascinates because it's a mirror, because it reflects many people's fear of death, our hunger for meaning, our readiness to weave through these stories to make sense of sorrow. For some, the house is haunted by spirits of the wronged. For others, it's haunted by the living, by a woman who refused to stop building. But, I think The house stands today like an enormous sighing lung. A wind tugs at the loose shingles. I mean, really, the lights in the windows, it flicker. People say this all the time, like candle flames. Perhaps, maybe not. But I will tell you, some of the countless accounts of visitors who left the mansion returned to their homes and felt something still with them. So a young couple from California said that for weeks after their visit, they woke up to faint knocks on the bedroom walls. Also, a man reported hearing soft, rhythmic footsteps in his home office at midnight, just like the floors of the mansion. Thank you. Another woman noticed cold drafts swirling around her bedroom, smelling faintly of old wood and dust, exactly like the core chamber. And by the way, these aren't isolated stories, they're patterns, because many people say the house imprints itself, like it watches. For some, it follows. And before the mansion was open to the public, staff and family members reported the most terrifying incidents. A night guard claimed that during a quiet evening check, the alarms went off throughout the entire mansion, but no one was inside. Doors slammed repeatedly, lights flickered on and off. And then when he returned to the security office, every camera in the building showed nothing except one frame. A shadowy figure stood in the seance room doorway, staring directly into the camera. A tour guide, a guy that had been working there for over 20 years, shared this. I've seen figures glide down the crooked halls. I felt cold hands on my shoulders. But one night, I saw something I can't explain. A woman in black, no face, standing on the staircase that leads nowhere. She raised her hand as if to wave goodbye, but I couldn't move. When I blinked, she was gone, and the steps looked normal again. I had never been so afraid to walk in that house alone. Another visitor confessed, I thought it was just stories, and then I heard my name whispered in my own home weeks after visiting. She said, I smelt the house. I felt pressure on my back, like someone was leaning on me. I thought I'd imagine it, but my husband heard it too. Something came home with me. And by the way, this is where the stories become harder to explain, where the experiences move beyond whispers and shadows and footsteps, where people report the houses that they feel touch. It's the part that the staff avoid, the part where guests swear the building itself has a will. So one of the most chilling accounts comes from a security guard named Michael. He worked a night shift alone, and walking the long, twisted corridors of the mansion at 2:30 a.m., he reached the narrow hallway connecting the seance room to the crooked hall. And he said, I felt it before I saw it. Thank you very much, RCD. A weight on my shoulder, like someone leaned on me. I froze. I didn't hear a sound. No breathing, nothing. I slowly reached back, nothing. I turned around, nobody was there. Then I heard the faintest tap behind me. And when I turned back again, my shoulder burnt like someone had pressed a hot hand into it. So he didn't touch the hallway again, the hallway walls again that night. And he did not work alone for months. So that's pretty impressive stuff. Now, here's some stories that I found even more strange to disturbing. There's a figure that multiple people have described independently. The shape, form, the same behavior, the same feeling attached to it. They call it the warden. So he's not a ghost that floats. He's not pale or transparent. He looks like a man in dark work clothes, but no one ever sees his face. Now, the earliest report that I found was actually from the 1960s. a janitor working a late shift, said he saw a tall man at the end of the hallway near their interior courtyard, and he thought it was one of the maintenance guys. And so he waved, but the man didn't wave back. Instead, he turned and stepped through a solid wall. The janitor quit the next morning. Another report came in the 1990s. A carpenter doing repairs said he kept hearing footsteps behind him while he was standing a staircase. Heavy ones, measured steps like someone checking in on his work. He turned expecting a supervisor. Same figure, same dark clothes, same lack of face. The carpenter said he told the man, "I'll be done soon." The figure didn't move, didn't react. And then it just dissolved like smoke, like mist. And also a former tour guide, someone who worked there for 14 years, told me the story that stayed with him the longest. And he said he said that he had a group of about 20 people, and they were walking through a narrow hallway near the switchback stairs, and everyone is packed close. And he said he heard someone behind him whisper, "Don't go forward." He froze. He turned to see who said it. Everyone looked confused. One man actually laughed and asked why they were stopping. The guy did not answer. He was too busy listening. And the voice came again, this time right next to his ear. It was like a hiss, soft, urgent, "Don't go forward." So he backed up. And one of the guests asked if he was feeling all right. And then that's when they all heard it. It was a loud crack, like a deep groan from the wood overheard, and a heavy ceiling panel dropped. It smashed the floor exactly where the guide would have been standing. And nobody in the tour joked after that. Now, when I asked him whether he thought a spirit saved him, he said, "Not a spirit, the house." Now, the next one is the seance room, because the most consistent reports of a full body apparition come from inside that tiny space. Many people describe this being as the watcher. So a woman once took a private tour late in the afternoon, and the guide stepped out into the hall to answer a radio call, leaving her inside for just only less than a minute. The woman didn't panic. She was comfortable with the paranormal. She visited the home dozens of times. So she treated the seance room like a curiosity, but not a threat. But then she said the temperature dropped so fast that she could see her breath. And when she looked toward the far corner, she saw a woman standing there. It was a faint outline at first, then clearer, unmistakably solid. A small frame, dark dress, veil over her face. The visitor actually thought it was a reenactor. And then the woman in the veil turned her head. The veil did not move. And there was nothing underneath it. No face, no features, just a hollow, dark shape where a face should have been. Thank you, Steve. And then a guide returned, and the visitor was pressed against the floor, hands over her mouth. She wouldn't step back into the room. And the guide, she even dropped her purse, and the guide had to go get the purse. And there's one last thing. People say that the house moves. So most of the time it settles like any other structure, now and then. But there's something else about this. Guests report stairs that feel different on the way back down. Longer, sometimes shorter, tilted slightly to one side like it's off balance. No reconstruction had taken place, no damage, no reasonable explanation. One maintenance worker told me that there was a staircase on the third floor where he swears the angle changes. He said that he'd walk up and feel the incline under his feet shift halfway, just enough to make him grab the railing. And he actually measured it once. Thank you. And he measured the exact same part 2 days later. It was a different result. And he said, either my tools are broken or the house doesn't like being mapped. Because it's interesting because that matches something Sarah Winchester reportedly believed. She didn't build the house to confuse spirits. She built it to keep one step ahead of something she didn't want finding her. Maybe she was right. I don't know. Now, people don't, and we're almost finished here and we'll get your questions. People don't just feel the house. They said it moves things. So several guides report chairs sliding a few inches on the third floor. It's like small tables tilting, doors opening when no one was nearby. One visitor described a cup sliding off a counter in the North Conservatory. It didn't fall straight away. It slid as if pushed by a finger slowly, deliberately, along the edge of the counter before crashing onto the floor. And the guides all said the same thing. The house isn't clumsy. Thank you, RCD. It's aware. And on rare occasions, the mansion is open for private night tours. And one of these tours produced an encounter that still haunts employees. So a group of paranormal investigators entered the hallway at midnight, cameras in hand, EMF meters ready to go. They all reported feeling invisible hands brush past their arms, hearing whispers from corners with no ceiling above, feeling a cold pressure on their chest like someone was sitting there, even in empty chairs, and most unsettling, doors slamming shut on their own, cutting them off from exit. And one investigator tried to leave through the front door, but the door didn't budge. It wasn't locked. It wasn't jammed. It simply wouldn't open. And after 20 minutes of trying to open, the door swung up open on their own, according to the investigators. Everyone left. They never returned. And the core chamber, by the way, there's a report that comes from a room near the center of the house, sometimes called the core chamber. People who enter it describe it as if the walls themselves are alive. The floors seem to shift slightly under your foot. The air moves, and you can feel pressure behind your ears like someone leaning too close. One visitor described it, I could hear my own heartbeat, but it wasn't mine. The floor pulsed in time with it. I felt someone brush past me on the left. He says, I swear I felt a figure sit on the edge of the bed in the corner. I ran. I never ran faster in my life. So many people say that this house notices you, it tracks you. It reacts to your movements, your thoughts, your fears. If you speak, it listens. If you pause, it leans in. If you leave, it follows, sometimes subtly, sometimes violently. There are multiple accounts from visitors who left the mansion only to hear whispers in their homes for weeks afterwards. Objects moving on their home and shadows glimpsed in mirrors that vanish when you turn your head. And staff, by the way, staff who have worked there for decades offer the same advice. Never walk in the house alone at night. Never turn your back in the seance room. Never, ever linger in the core chamber. And one phrase repeats more than any other. The house doesn't forgive curiosity. So the Winchester Mystery House isn't just haunted, it's a maze. Many people say it has a mind of its own, a home built to appease spirits, perhaps to protect the living, to trap them forever. Who knows? It is sad if you see why, in fact, she built this. But I believe, many people believe this house isn't just a building, it's a warning, it's a puzzle built over decades by someone who truly believed that spirits were real and they were dangerous. And if Sarah Winchester was right, the house will continue to shift, to watch, to reach out to anyone who enters. It doesn't matter if it's day or night. Doesn't matter if the building is empty or full. The mansion's presence is patient. It waits, and it doesn't forgive curiosity. So imagine walking through the twisting halls as you picture the seance room, the core chamber, the crooked stairs, the shadowy figures. Remembering one thing, this is a place that doesn't end at its walls. It leaves a mark. And it follows you. Even after you think you're gone, even after leave and you go home, you don't be surprised if someone leaves with you. Because the Winchester Mystery House is more than history. It's a living reminder that Some curiosities are better left unexplored. Some doors are better left unopened. Some houses, some people say never ever let you go. And that, my friends, is the Winchester Mystery House. But this is an individual. Sarah Winchester spent a lot of money on this house. And she was absolutely convinced that this is how to escape it. Yeah. One second. Yeah, it was. Yeah, because of that's what happened, Joan, that a medium told her, if you build staircases that just end up at a ceiling, or staircases that will end up at a wall, or walls that have rooms that have no walls, or there's no floor, it's like a maze, that you will confuse the spirits and they will not be able to find you. So her belief was, if you build this great big huge mansion and you create all these weird twisted angles, so it confuses the spirits, the ghost of individuals who've been passed on by, or who passed away because of the Winchester. Yeah. So it is believed over 38 years, Sarah Winchester, thank you, spent $5.5 million on constant construction. 5.5. Today, that would translate over $100 million in today's money. And she kept doing it. She over and over and over. And her immense wealth came from the Winchester weapon fortune. She had a daily income at that time of $1,000 to spend as she pleased. And it started as a small farmhouse in 1884. And the construction stopped with her death in 1922. And after her death, the mansion was valued at only $5,000, though it later sold at an auction for $135,000. So this is $100 million is what she put in this construction. It's San Diego. Yeah, it's a fascinating story. It really is. One second. Okay. It is fascinating, isn't it? No. Hold on one second. I got to fix this real quick. This is being cray-cray. There we go. Okay. I have seen the movie. The movie's actually very good. The movie is really well. I don't know why it's doing this. My site is acting kind of crazy. Hold on, let me fix this right quick here. Right quick. Okay, there we go. She passed away in her home. She passed away in heart failure. So, yeah, she passed away. You have 38 years. She'd been building and renovating the entire thing for 38 years. Yep. So she died. Yep. She passed away in 1922. 1922. Okay. So there you go. Yeah. Oh, good. Great. All right. So let's talk about some of these items that we have. We've got a lot of articles that we're going to talk about tonight. And you're in San Diego? Very cool. It's a neat place. It is. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I've done a lot of investigating on it. But it's a fascinating. Everybody who says it, who's been there, they all feel the same thing. That's what's so interesting about it. All feel being watched and a dramatic temperature change. But it also, like I said, it all started because she lost her husband. And then he had tuberculosis, and then she lost her daughter, her young daughter. They were all pretty much in the same time period. And so, unfortunately, she was in extreme grief. And I believe, personally, I think that the medium took advantage. I do. She knew she was wealthy, and I've never visited. I've had people who have visited. So maybe one day. But for this medium to tell her, well, the problem is this. The medium said, well, because you have amassed this enormous wealth because of the Winchester weapon, because you've done this, now all the people who passed away due to the weapon is haunting you. And that's why your husband passed away from tuberculosis. And that's why you lost your daughter. That's what the medium told her. So in order for you to stay safe, you have to build and confuse the spirits. I think that's terrible. So in my opinion, I think that this medium did major damage to her psyche because she was already in extreme grief and trauma. Well, thank you very much, Starla. Thank you very much. That's beautiful. Thank you. But it is sad. So this is why I think when people who are mediums, they got to be very careful. Very, very careful, because there's people who mislead people and take advantage, and that's not right. If your spirit goes to heaven, why are there ghosts? Because heaven exists outside of time and space. You can certainly be in heaven and be here at the same time. Heaven is not restricted to time or space. I am absolutely convinced. There are some people who believe that everything is demon, and it's not. It's just not. If I believed everything, if all the evidence clearly demonstrated that everything that was haunted was a demon, I would tell you. But I only can speak from my experience. Everything is not demonic. It's just not. I've been to many locations where there was paranormal activity, but it wasn't violent. Things moved, and the family just didn't like it. It creeped them out a little bit. So I would go there. I'd pray for the repose of the soul and ask for prayer of absolution. But I'm absolutely convinced that not everything is demonic, because it's not. And I've talked about this a lot. For 5 years, I've talked about this on TikTok. Scripture makes it very clear about ghosts. When Jesus was walking on water, the disciples were terrified. They thought they were seeing a ghost. That's what it says. And people say, well, the Bible meant demon. No, it does not. That's not what it says. The same thing when Jesus was crucified and he was resurrected and he appeared. They were terrified. They thought they were seeing a ghost. And Jesus even had to say, give me something to eat. Ghosts don't have flesh and bones as you see that I have. Meaning, if the ghosts don't exist, Jesus would have said, ghosts don't exist. But that's not what he said. He actually offered a clarification. So from my experience, I don't believe everything is demonic. It just isn't. It just isn't. I would tell you, I've told this one story before. Well, first of all, I know that my Aunt Mary is with me. No question. When I perform exorcisms, I will always smell roses. Always. Before she passed away, she said, when you smell roses, you know that I'm there. And before every exorcism, I always smell roses. Always. And people say, well, it's pareidolia. Well, no, it's not, because other people smell it too. So it's just simply not true. I don't accept at all that everything is demonic. I don't accept it. Okay. Entities don't like you. Okay. I don't know why. Why won't? Pareidolia. Pareidolia is, for example, let's say you look at clouds, and one person says, well, that's a dog. Well, that's a cat. Well, I see a dog, and you look at the cloud, and that's a cloud. It's not. But see, they see, their mind obviously has this view of what they see, and your mind sees something different. It's pareidolia. Now, very interesting, everybody. Listen to this. Avi Loeb, for those of you who you might remember the name, he had talked about the 3-eye atlas and how said it could have been alien aircraft. Well, TK Randall writes this: Avi Loeb accept a skeptic's $1,000 wager over alien visitation by 2030. Okay. The Harvard astronomer is so confident that we will find evidence of aliens that he's decided to stake money on it. So Loeb, who seems adamant that there is more to interstellar visitor, 3i Atlas, than meets the eye, has responded to a bet put forward by Skeptic Magazine publisher Dr. Michael Shermer. The precise wording of the wager is that the, quote, discovery or disclosure of alien visitation to Earth in the form of UFOs, UAP, or any other technological artifact or alien biological form, as confirmed by a major scientific institutions and government agencies, will not happen by December 31st, 2030. So whoever wins the $1,000 will donate the money to the Galileo Project Foundation. There we go. So believers appear in the media boldly predicting that by the end of the year, we will have proof of alien contact. 33 years later, still waiting for said proof, Dr. Shermer said. Loeb, meanwhile, maintains that the hunt for alien life is just getting started. He says the search for technological artifacts has just started in the earnest in 2025 with the discovery of the anomalous interstellar object 3i Atlas, the launch of the Rubin Observatory, and the construction of the 3 Galileo Project observatories. He wrote on his blog, "It is better to be optimist because life is sometimes a self-fulfilling prophecy." So which of the two men will win the wager remains to be seen. But it would be also fair to say that Loeb has a bit of an uphill battle if he hopes for alien life to be proven within 5 years. Not only that, but he will have to prove that it has been visiting the Earth as well. No doubt we'll be reporting on the outcome and the wager when the time comes. I absolutely am convinced. I'm convinced 100% that there is alien life. Well, thank you very much, Corrine. Thank you. That's the first time I've seen that. That's beautiful. Thank you. Our friends are offering gifts on TikTok. Thank you. It's very nice of you. Thank you. Well, happy birthday, Maggie. Tomorrow's our birthday. Happy birthday to you. But I am convinced. I just think the idea that our universe, that we're the only ones, that's a good question. We just simply don't know if they believe in God. Now, what's interesting, what many people don't know is that the Vatican has an astronomy department, a beautiful observatory. I mean, they have a multi-million-dollar observatory, and they even have a priest who is in charge of the observatory. And so, okay, Big Red. And so, Big Red, was that you in the General League that I saw? I someone with the name Big Red. I thought I saw that on TikTok. So there was a General League. He was sitting in the general, an actual. Well, it was obviously, I don't know if it was one of the real General Lees, because you can buy you used to buy them when they were selling them. Yes, okay. And it was not your car. So a guy let you sit in it. Oh, no. You know what I was going to say? I called Jesus and he said, you probably need to donate that to the Bishop Long car garage renovation museum. It sounded good. I mean, that's what I could come up with at the moment. But it's pretty cool. But the foundation. There we go. Okay. Why are there so many clergy claiming everything is demonic? Ghosts. Yeah, I don't know, Crossing Guard. I don't know. Because everything is not. Everything is not demonic. It just isn't. And I understand there are some people that have an opinion on it, and I get it. But see, that's the problem. There's a big difference between, throwing a theory out there and then throwing a theory. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Throwing a theory out there backed by actual work. What I mean by that is anybody can throw a hypothesis. Okay, for example, they're all spirits are demons. Okay, fine. So what evidence do you have to back up this hypothesis? What is it? What this claim? And the problem is thank you. When you find out it's just all theory from many of these people, well, the Bible says, well, no, the Bible actually says ghosts exist. My problem is this. If you're going to throw something out there like all ghosts are demons, then you need to have something to back that up with. How many years of experience of paranormal investigating do you have? How many cases of demonic cases have you worked? How many cases of paranormal activity cases where you worked where it wasn't demonic? And see, that's the problem. Theory is one thing, but when you make a statement that all ghosts are demons, then you need to back it up with strong evidence that would clearly determine that. Otherwise, you're just throwing theories. So I've been in the paranormal field for 35 years. I've investigated thousands of locations that were very violent, clearly demonic, no argument there. And in other cases where it was absolutely not demonic in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but there was paranormal activity. I think thousands, Lori. So why is it that some people are more sensitive to spirits than others? Because it's all about what we are introduced to, depending on society, culture, personality. So, for example, if you grew up in a family where you're told spirits don't exist, this doesn't exist, paranormal doesn't exist, then you have that ideology, that belief that they don't. But I think also a lot of people are more empathic than others. No, ghosts don't possess bodies. No. What advice would, that's a good question we had. If Sarah Winchester came to me, what advice would I give her? I would never tell her, ever, that those people who have passed away from a Winchester weapon are now going to haunt you. She was already in a fragile mental state due to the loss of her husband and her child. So if she came to me, I would absolutely do grief counseling. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. None. But this medium was more interested, I think, in pocketing their bank account than really helping her. She should have had grief counseling than being told, well, now that you've amassed all this wealth and that you just lost your husband and you just lost your child, guess what? The ghosts are after you. And that's basically what this medium told her. And so because of that, she went, I think, she fed into this psychosis. And I think she caused severe damage from a psychological perspective. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think there are some, Nicole. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of people. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are, yeah. The 1945 in World War II, that particular leader. And I certainly think that is, we know what he was about. Okay. Stop. Why does it keep doing this? Hold on one second. I got to fix this real quick because this keeps blocking out on me. It's driving me crazy. Borrow with me. Let me close this program. And then we can do this. Well, I don't know if you can say he was much worse. I mean, come on. I mean, really? What a particular man in Germany did? I mean, that was, I think they were all evil. Every one of them. Yeah, the transhumanism, it's, several people are asking that question. There was another person who asked the question on here. I think it's an intellectual, it was a cultural movement for advocates for the use of advanced technology in like physical and cognitive abilities, basically to transcend limitations, on the human condition. So you can look at it like it tries to improve health, which is good, intelligence, lifespan, and overall well-being of the person. It also focused on genetic engineering, which can be quite dangerous. Artificial intelligence. There's also a term called nanotechnology, and even, well, cybernetics. But I think AI is a major problem. Yeah. So really, people who are for transhumanism, they argue that the technological advancements that we have today can help humans, achieve like a post-human state is what it's called, by enhanced capacities and to even immortality. So I think there's going to get there. There going to be. I do believe that AI is going to get to a point, and I think we will get to a point that many people will look at graveyards and say, well, that's a shame they didn't live in this day and age, because I think that it's going to get to a point where certainly the wealthy will advance first. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, where there will be engineered organs that will be quite easy to do and reproduce. So if you have a heart failure, no problem. Well, we're going to reproduce this using technology, artificial intelligence, to where they could recraft a heart that's even perfect, superior. And so I think AI is a problem. I'm not a fan of AI. AI can be helpful. It can be. But I think also it's a problem. First of all, I don't want any of my clergy. I don't want any of my clergy using AI for doing homilies. None. And the reason is I don't like because if all you're doing is pushing the go button and then it's telling you whatever to say, then basically you're regurgitating artificial intelligence information on a homily, and you're not allowing the Holy Spirit to work within you at all. So when you give a homily is the same thing as a sermon. That's a time to read the scripture, to discern, to pray, and ask the Holy Spirit to guide you into what you want to obviously produce. But when you're using artificial intelligence, number one, it's lazy. And number two, you're not giving the Holy Spirit any room whatsoever to work within you, because now you're relying strictly on technology. Well, what are you going to do if it goes down? That's a problem. So, but I think artificial intelligence is going to be an issue. It's going to be a problem. Because the problem, inevitably, look, when you have technology like this, as well as I do, it's going to be weaponized. And anyone who thinks otherwise is fooling themselves. It will be weaponized. There's no question about it. So if you have artificial intelligence that is so brilliant and obviously far more advanced than the brain can possibly calculate itself or equations, well, then you're going to have issues with the artificial intelligence circumnavigating the military industrial complex, and you're going to have issues with the grid and a lot of other things. Though I think a World War III is not going to be basically on the battlefield. It's going to be online. And that's where I think we're going. So AI is going to be used. Yeah, quantum supercomputers, no question. But look, there's no doubt in my mind that AI is going to be used. It's going to be weaponized. I guarantee it's weaponized now. And yep, and even Jennifer, she's very knowledgeable, obviously, with electronics and computers. It can stunt learn. So look, this is like war games. And that's the problem. Because once you weaponize it, then can you truly control it? And that's an issue. Because if it becomes autonomous, if it has any type of autonomy, even if autonomy is not built within its circulation, it can still circumnavigate that. And so that's a problem. That's a real issue. So, okay. So that's the thing that we got to be very, very careful of. All right, let's Listen to this. This is a very interesting article that I saw, and I thought, boy, I don't know if it's much of a surprise, but TK Randall writes this. Listen to this, everybody. The U.S. Army's secretive PSYOP group releases chilling new video. A fourth psychological operations group, Airborne, has posted a strange new recruitment video on its Book to the Face page. You might think that clandestine, mind-altering psychological warfare groups are a concept relegated to the days of the Cold War when the CIA worked as a secretive psychic experiments. But in fact, the practice of manipulating enemies through the use of psychological tricks is still going on. One group still operating in the United States military is the 4th Psychological Operations Group Airborne, a long-running military information support operations unit based in Fort Bragg. Its goal is to psychologically influence its opponents, whether that be enemy combatants or the whole country, to degrade morale, to persuade combatants not to fight, or to inspire beneficial uprisings. Hello, have you not read social media? It's already occurring now. I don't care what anyone says. I have never seen this country as divided as we are today. I've never seen it. I've never seen the division so deeply ingrained. We've always had disagreements. Always. I mean, the disagreements are one thing. But even when I was growing up, we would have disagreements, but people would have a conversation that was at least respectful. I have never seen this country so divided. So believe me, we're not the only ones that engage in psychological influence. I can guarantee you other countries are doing it as well. This is one of the arguments, by the way. One of the arguments is why the government in the United States wanted to ban TikTok, because they were absolutely convinced that it was in fact being used as a tool, as a psychological influence tool for a particular country. So now, in an unexpected move, the group has published a curious and somewhat disturbing new video that appears to be aimed at driving recruitment. Quote, "There's another force applied in combat that we generally don't think of as a weapon of war," the narrator states. That weapon is words. We are everywhere. Words are our weapon. The video features a number of clips, including historical military footage, old cartoons, and a montage of sequences indicating some of the activities that the group gets up to. It serves as a chilling take on the clandestine nature of these operations and should certainly prove compelling to any young people considering joining the military. It is an interesting video. So if you want to look it up, you can go on to the tube to the U, and it says new video from the 4th PSYOP group. We're not the only one doing this. We're absolutely not the only one doing this at all. So it's going around, no question about that. Before we to wrap up this presentation, I want to remind everybody, please make sure you go to my site, Bishop James Long. You follow that up with a .com. I have a brand new book out there. It is called Bishop Long's Paranormal Investigating Training Manual. It's 260 pages. I ask that you please purchase that book, not because it benefits me in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I'm donating 100% of the profits to the MKS Kids Foundation, an orphanage that we are partnering with. I also have a brand new book that I just published. It is the 7 Archangels. It's also, if you go to Bishop James Long, you follow that up with a .com, scroll down right there to the middle or so, you'll see the book. And well, thank you very much, Donna. Thank you. Thank you. And if you would, please purchase that book. And again, 100% of the profits from that book is going to the MKS Kids Foundation. And when I say we, because it is a collective measure. No, I'm not wearing makeup, but thank you for paying attention, very close attention to my face. Do you like this view or this view? So either way, please make sure you consider going to Bishop James Long and follow it up with a .com. And there you go. You can purchase either book. Either book would be great. Again, 100% goes to the MKS Kids Foundation. Why not? Why not? So, smoldering, cooking. Yeah, there we are. So there you go, guys. And make sure also, don't forget, everybody, please go to our sponsor site, It is KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Click on the shop link. All right. And if you do, then you click on my name. And we have some St. Michael products there. We have St. Michael, St. Benedict, some really great products. And if you go there, all the profits that would go to me, we are donating that to the MKS Kids Foundation. So we're trying to help them as much as we can, because ultimately that's what that's the goal. You know, I always talk about, Mr. Producer showing there, that we try to help. I mean, I always tell people, if you want to feel the presence of God, do something good for others, expect nothing in return. Nothing in return. And that's the key. Well, also there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lights. So that helps. Eyes are red. Okay, listen, for those of you listening on podcasts, I'm going to say a good night to you and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Now, let's see. Next week, let me double check here right quick. All right, so the 19th, we're going to be talking about Krampus on the 19th. And then next week, we'll have a show. I will be here on the 26th, December the 26th. So that will continue. So make sure you join us on that. Okay, for everybody else who's watching on all the other social media platforms, remember I tell you all the time, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You're priceless, and don't let any troll tell you or convince you otherwise. And good night.